With WoW Season of Discovery almost among us, literally just weeks after it was announced, I don't think I've been this excited about World of Warcraft in a very long time. And while the point of this season is kind of to go and discover all the new things that have been added, I still think that there are a few things that one can do to prepare beforehand to have an even better experience. And with that, diving straight into tip number 1, and that's that even if you already thought about which class and spec you'll be playing, be sure to pay special attention to not only the new roles and playstyles your class will be able to take on, but also all the new runes that will be available to them, right? And not only that, but do note that you can't just have any of the runes that you want, or rather you can't just pick any 3 runes that you want and roll with them. You'll actually have to pick runes that go into a specific item slot, which means that there are in fact runes that compete for the same item slot, which means you can't use 2 runes for that same slot, right? You can only pick a different rune that is on a different slot. So be sure to check out the list of runes that have been made available to the public, and these are not limited to the ones that Blizzard officially announced at their BlizzCon panel, because people were actually able to play the demo and find out even more runes that were not revealed. So be sure to check out the link below. It's a Wowhead link that will have all the runes as well as the specific or respective slots that the runes will also go into. On to tip number 2, and that is to sort of pre-plan your leveling route or put together a dungeon group beforehand to be able to sort of spam dungeons with to be able to level quickly and also gear up, right? If you're not planning on rolling with a group as much, you can also download the add-on Questy. I believe it will very likely work for the Season of Discovery. Questy is a very helpful, well, as the name implies, questing add-on that'll help you determine some of the best leveling and questing routes for your character to take. And if you're gonna go the dungeon route, if you're able to put together some groups while you're leveling, doesn't have to be all the way through level 25, but if you can get into some dungeons like Ragefire Chasm, Wailing Caverns, and then maybe even Shadowfang Keep as Horde, and then with Ragefire Chasm becoming accessible starting from level 13. On the Alliance side, you can start doing the Dead Mines at level 16, followed by perhaps even the Stockade at level 23. So by doing some of these dungeons, especially ones like Wailing Caverns, Shadowfang Keep, and the Stockade if you're Alliance, this should be a great way to gear up your character as well while preparing for the new Black Fathom Deeps raid. And so with that, I also include another Wowhead link below for a couple of leveling guides for both Alliance and Horde. You can also sort by zone if you prefer to level in some specific zone, although at these lower levels your choices are of course going to be more limited. And also another thing I want to mention is to try to pick a talent spec that is a bit more leveling friendly, because especially since Blizzard have come out and said that respecking talents is going to cost significantly less than previously it had been in Classic and Vanilla. On to tip number 3, and that is to pre-plan your macros, keybinds, and add-ons. Starting off with macros, these are essentially a string of commands that you can create for each of your characters, and each class will sort of have established macros for them that you can already basically copy and paste. And there are definitely tons of macro guides out there. I'll try to find a good one and put it below. Hopefully one that encompasses each class and spec. But essentially macros can be really helpful, especially for example, pet classes, warlocks, and hunters. You can create a pet macro where you can easily, at a button press, command your pet to attack or stop their attack or to make them follow you and so forth, right? You can kind of bind any sort of command to a macro and also include multiple things on there. For example, if you have a trinket to activate, which will not trigger your global cooldown, you can bind a trinket activation along with your skill press to not have to press them separately. Next, of course, keybinds can be set beforehand. You can simply boot up your classic WoW and just go into your keybinds and adjust them if you're going to be playing a new class compared to what you have been playing before, right? Or if you just want to refresh your keybinds for this new experience. And then of course add-ons can be really important. Earlier I mentioned Questy. I actually have to do a little bit more research on the best add-ons for Season of Discovery. I imagine a rune hunting or secret hunting add-on will be extremely useful for you to pick up your runes quickly, and I'm sure somebody will put that together, so that'll be going in the description box below as a link when I do find one. But before that, stay tuned for a add-on video that I'll be putting out after the Season of Discovery launches, so that I'll be able to sort of finalize the list of the actual best add-ons that you can pick up. But for now, you can also head over to curseforge.com to check out the add-ons that are potentially going to be available and how you plan to customize your gameplay with it. And for tip number 4, we have pre-planning your 2 main professions. Or if you want to play alts, you can have even more professions, right? But essentially, professions are actually getting new recipes as well in the Season of Discovery. So be sure to check those out as well. I'll link a post from Bowhead below that reveals some of the new recipes. Some of the most notable ones that I've seen are, in addition to new sharpening stones and mana oil, with the sharpening stone being from blacksmiths and then mana oil being from enchanting. There are also new armor pieces that each of the armor crafting professions, blacksmithing, leatherworking, and tailoring, can craft that are bind on pickup, which means that you would want to have those on, or those professions on your character to be able to create and then use these powerful epic gear. These are actually looking quite powerful indeed. So personally, and I'm still kind of picking my class, but for example, if I'm going to pick a warlock or a mage, I'm definitely going to be picking tailoring as one of my professions. However, another consideration is to not necessarily have to pick up the armor crafting profession at the very start, right? I actually think that, and I'll probably do this, but I actually think that double gathering could be a really good idea at the start. So you could do skinning and mining. I think that might actually be the best, with herbalism primarily being for, of course, alchemy. So it would kind of depend on the viability of any of the new potions or elixirs that we get. So far, it doesn't seem like there's that great of a new elixir, but I could be wrong. There could be some new ones that have not been revealed. But essentially, I think herbalism will not be as important as skinning and mining, because those 2 professions are going to be funneling resources and materials into armor crafting, right? Being blacksmithing and leatherworking. And of course, with the aforementioned new epic bind on pickup gear that these professions are going to be able to craft, these materials that are going to be supplying them are going to be in high demand, especially once people reach level 25 and then realize that they're able to craft this epic gear. They're surely going to be picking up, maybe swapping into these armor crafting professions if they hadn't known about these new additions before, and or just leveling up their armor crafting professions to be able to craft it, right? And that's when, as more people reach level 25, that's when a lot of these raw materials are going to be going up in price, in my opinion. So it might actually be wise to take double gathering, farm up some of the materials. You can also save some of the materials for yourself if you plan on crafting this epic gear like I am. Of course, tailoring is sort of an exception because there's not really a gathering profession for tailoring. You just go and farm humanoids for cloth. So I would actually hold on to cloth as well, because that is likely going to be a hot commodity once people are leveling their tailoring for their new epic boots, right? So I'm personally, if I'm going to be playing a cloth class, which is highly likely, going to be buying us some cloth here and there to sort of prepare for this gold rush into cloth tailoring materials when more people hit level 25, right? Banking on the fact that I think that these materials will be slightly cheaper near the start, or like a week or so after the start, or maybe a few days of the season. And last but not least, on to tip number 5, and I've sort of begun talking about this already, and that is to prepare some gold making strategies going into the Season of Discovery, especially if you want to pick up some materials to craft your epic gear and so forth, or get some consumables for raiding, right? Anyhow, some gold making strategies. I've already talked about my profession strategy, which is to go with double gathering, likely mining and skinning, and then swapping out one of them to tailoring if I'm going to be, since I'm likely going to be playing a warlock. Or if I end up playing a shaman, I will swap out my mining into leatherworking for my shaman gear. Anyhow, with that, another strategy that I want to share is to farm up some small eggs for Winter Veil, because Winter Veil is actually going to be really soon, right after Season of Discovery launches, and there's actually a quest called Treats for Great Father Winter, a seasonal or holiday quest that requires you to make 5 gingerbread cookies to give to Great Father Winter for like a gift. And a lot of people want to complete this quest, and to create these or to craft these gingerbread cookies, you'll actually need these small eggs. So what you can do before Winter Veil is to not only pick up some small eggs if you can from the auction house for cheaper, or you can also go out and farm your own, and definitely don't sell them until Winter Veil hits, right? So that people will want to be buying them up and using them for the gingerbread cookie recipe to turn in their quests. Some ways to farm them up are essentially to find bird type enemies, such as Moonkin from Darkshore, vultures from Westfall, and then Morgor if you're Horde, and the Barons as well, and also Plain Striders if you can find any of those. Any sort of bird type enemy, I think harpies count as well, will drop small eggs that you can hold on to until Winter Veil. And with that, I'll also see if I can find some more gold making strategies for the Season of Discovery, and I'll be dedicating a whole video to those gold making strategies, so be sure to stay tuned for that as well. And with that, those are my top tips for preparing for the Season of Discovery. Of course, as I mentioned, I might be adding some more resources either to the description below or in the form of some new videos, such as some additional gold making strategies, the best add-ons that you can use in the Season of Discovery, and so on and so forth. And with that, let me know what you think in the comment section below if you have any other tips to add, and I will catch you in the next video or in Azeroth. Peace.